Leo. There are rare moments when karma does not arrive quietly. It arrives all at once. Unmistakable. And undeniable. This Monday carries that kind of energy. 5 separate victories converge together. Not because you demanded justice, but because balance finally caught up with timing. What you endured without applause. What you handled without revenge. What you released without closure is now recalibrating in your favor. This is not chaos. It is convergence. Situations that moved slowly suddenly resolve. Answers arrive without being chased. Recognition appears where silence once lived. You may feel overwhelmed, not from stress, but from the realization that something you stopped expecting is now unavoidable. Karma strikes when resistance ends. You are no longer pushing. You are allowing alignment to move freely. That is why multiple outcomes land together instead of one by one. This moment does not shout. It confirms, and once it begins, it cannot be reversed. Leo. When karma delivers multiple victories at once, the signs begin before the outcomes themselves appear. One sign is internal calm paired with alertness. You are not anxious, yet you are paying attention. This state indicates readiness rather than anticipation. Readiness allows results to land cleanly without overwhelm. The first victory shows up as resolution. A situation that dragged on finally moves forward without effort from you. You may not even need to respond. The resolution simply happens. This kind of victory restores time and mental space, which are often more valuable than the outcome itself. The second victory arrives through recognition. Someone sees your contribution, your integrity, or your consistency without you asking to be seen. Recognition earned this way stabilizes confidence. It confirms that your restraint mattered. Recognition that arrives organically tends to last. The third victory involves release. Something that weighed on you quietly lifts. It could be financial, emotional, or logistical. You realize you no longer need to manage it. Release returns energy that was being spent on maintenance. Returned energy fuels momentum. The fourth victory appears as opportunity alignment. An option opens at the same moment another path closes. This timing prevents confusion. Clarity replaces indecision. When clarity arrives with opportunity, action becomes simple. The fifth victory comes through validation. Not dramatic validation, but quiet confirmation that your judgment was accurate. You trusted yourself when it was uncomfortable. This confirmation strengthens intuition and improves future decision-making. You may notice that these victories do not feel flashy. They feel stabilizing. Stability is how karma restores balance sustainably rather than temporarily. Another sign is fairness re-entering the picture. You no longer feel the need to argue or defend your position. Situations correct themselves. Self-correcting systems indicate karmic alignment. You may also notice that communication improves. Messages are clearer. Misunderstandings resolve without escalation. Improved communication reduces friction across areas of life. There is a sign in timing compression. Things that would normally unfold over weeks happen in days. Compression occurs when delays are no longer needed. It signals that lessons have integrated. You may feel relief mixed with gratitude. Gratitude appears naturally when something arrives without cost. Cost-free reward confirms karmic completion. Another indicator is confidence without bravado. You do not feel the need to announce what happened. Privacy feels protective. Protection allows integration. You may notice that your priorities reorder themselves. What once felt urgent loses importance. What matters becomes obvious. Obvious priorities. Simplify action. There is also a sign through physical response. The body relaxes. Sleep improves. Appetite steadies. These physical cues indicate safety has returned. You may see people from the past reappear briefly or fade quietly. Both movements signal closure. Closure frees attention. Another sign is increased efficiency. Tasks complete faster. Decisions require fewer revisions. Efficiency indicates alignment. You may feel an urge to clean or organize. Organization reflects internal order. Internal order supports sustained progress. Leo. These victories arrive together because they address different layers of the same lesson. One restores time. One restores confidence. One restores energy. One restores opportunity. One restores trust. Together they recalibrate direction. Do not rush to maximize the moment. Maximization introduces pressure. Pressure disrupts integration. Let each victory settle before acting on the next. Sequential integration preserves stability. You may notice that fear does not spike. Fear often accompanies unearned reward. The absence of fear indicates that the reward is aligned. Another indicator is acceptance without suspicion. You do not question why it arrived now. You simply receive it. Receiving without suspicion is a sign of maturity. This Monday is not about celebration. It is about confirmation. Confirmation that endurance ended where wisdom began. Observe how life responds differently after this convergence. Response quality improves. Cooperation increases. Do not look backward to measure what was lost. That comparison would reopen loops. Look forward with calm authority. Authority earned through restraint carries weight. Leo. Karma striking does not punish others. It restores you. Restoration changes posture. Posture changes trajectory. Allow this recalibration to guide choices quietly. The victories are not temporary. They are structural. And once structure shifts, outcomes follow consistently. This is how 5 victories arrive at once, not as spectacle, but as correction completed. Leo. Beneath the convergence of these 5 victories, there is a deeper mechanism explaining why karma chose this exact moment rather than earlier or later. Karma moves when understanding integrates, not when suffering peaks. Integration means lessons are no longer theoretical. They have become behavior. The first layer of this mechanism is restraint. You learned when not to react. You learned when silence preserved dignity. That restraint prevented escalation and protected your future options. Options preserved become opportunities when timing opens. The second layer is consistency. You continued showing up even when reward felt absent. Consistency built credibility with life itself. Credibility invites return without negotiation. Another layer involves release of resentment. Resentment once fueled endurance. Releasing it freed energy. Free energy attracts resolution. Resolution closes loops cleanly. There is also a correction of expectation. You stopped demanding outcomes on your schedule. That surrender removed friction. Reduced friction allows multiple outcomes to align simultaneously. You may notice that each victory corresponds to a boundary you honored. Time restored where you stopped over-explaining. Recognition arrived where you stopped self-minimizing. Energy returned where you stopped carrying others' burdens. Opportunity opened where you stopped forcing. Trust restored where you stayed, true despite doubt. This pattern reveals the structure. Karma rewards alignment across dimensions. not isolated actions. When alignment reaches threshold, returns cluster. Another element is emotional maturity. You can receive without gloating. You can accept without suspicion. This maturity allows multiple gifts to land without destabilizing your center. There is also a temporal aspect. Delays synchronized lessons so returns could support each other. One victory creates space for the next. Space allows integration. Integration sustains momentum. You may feel that luck improved suddenly. Luck is perception of alignment. Alignment increases probability. Probability improves outcomes. Another mechanism is self-trust consolidation. These victories confirm your judgment. Confirmation stabilizes intuition. Stabilized intuition improves future timing. You may recognize that karma did not punish anyone else. It corrected your path. Correction benefits you without harming others. That is advanced balance. There is also a spiritual neutrality present. You are not asking why me. You are not asking why now. Neutrality indicates acceptance. Acceptance keeps channels open. You may notice that your nervous system remains calm despite activity. Calm activity is the hallmark of readiness. Readiness receives without strain. Another deeper point is closure without confrontation. None of these victories require explanation or defense. Closure arrived organically. Organic closure lasts. You may also sense gratitude toward your past self. That self held integrity when shortcuts tempted. Integrity preserved future alignment. This mechanism explains why the 5 victories feel stabilizing rather than overwhelming. Overwhelm would indicate misalignment. Stability confirms correctness. Do not search for additional meaning. Meaning has already integrated. Searching would reopen analysis. Observe how your behavior changes naturally after this. Cleaner decisions. Shorter explanations. Stronger boundaries. These behaviors lock the gains. Leo. Karma converged because you converged internally. Internal convergence precedes external convergence. From here, the path requires maintenance rather than effort. Maintain clarity. Maintain restraint. Maintain consistency. The deeper mechanism has completed its work. What remains is continuation. This is how karma closes a long cycle, not with noise, but with structure restored. Let this alignment breathe before you accelerate anything. Allow routines to stabilize and let relationships respond to your new posture. Notice which choices feel obvious and which no longer deserve energy. Obvious choices require less explanation and produce cleaner results. When simplicity increases, momentum becomes sustainable. This phase asks you to protect what arrived by living normally, not proving anything. Trust this rhythm and let time reinforce the balance fully. Leo. This is where the meaning of karma striking sharpens into revelation. Because once multiple victories land together, you can finally see what was being built beneath the surface all along. Revelation. Here is not shock. It is clarity. Clarity that the struggle was never random, and that your restraint was not silence, but strategy. One revelation is that power does not need display. Power operates quietly through consistency. When you stopped proving yourself, leverage returned. Leverage changes outcomes without confrontation. Another revelation is about timing. You see that earlier wins would have scattered your focus. Receiving them together creates stability instead of distraction. Stability allows you to act from choice rather than urgency. You may realize that justice does not always arrive as apology. It arrives as corrected circumstance. Circumstance correction lasts longer than words ever could. There is a revelation about effort. You were taught to push harder when blocked. This cycle taught you to pause, observe, and redirect. That skill protects future momentum. You may notice that confidence now feels grounded. Grounded confidence does not fluctuate with opinion. It remains steady under change. Another insight surfaces about trust. Trust is no longer something you give blindly. It is something earned through pattern. Pattern recognition refines discernment. You may see that releasing resentment was not weakness. It was precision. Precision conserved energy. Conserved energy attracted alignment. There is clarity around boundaries. Boundaries are not barriers. They are signals. Signals teach others how to engage without you explaining. You may realize that comparison dissolved naturally. Your path validated itself. Validation from life replaces validation from people. Another revelation involves self-worth. Worth no longer depends on endurance. It depends on alignment. Alignment feels lighter and produces better return. You may notice that your nervous system remains calm even as activity increases. Calm activity indicates readiness. Readiness prevents burnout. There is a revelation about silence. Silence protected your position while outcomes reorganized. Speaking earlier would have diluted leverage. You may recognize that patience matured into authority. Authority does not rush. It allows results to arrive on their own terms. Another truth surfaces about gratitude. Gratitude is not excitement. It is steadiness. Steady gratitude sustains success. You may see that the 5 victories address different fears. Fear of being ignored. Fear of being drained. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being stuck. Fear of being undervalued. Each fear lost relevance simultaneously. There is clarity around choice architecture. You now see which choices deserve attention and which do not. Reduced choice noise improves execution. You may notice that people respond differently to you. Less testing, more cooperation. This shift reflects internal alignment becoming visible externally. Another revelation is that karma did not arrive to elevate ego. It arrived to restore proportion. Proportion aligns effort with return. You may feel relief that you no longer need to explain your journey. Explanation kept you in the past. Presence keeps you forward. There is understanding that cycles close when lessons integrate behaviorally. Behavior integration has occurred. Outcomes confirm it. You may recognize that joy feels calm rather than intense. Calm joy integrates better than emotional spikes. Another insight is that humility now feels natural. Natural humility prevents overreach and preserves stability. You may see that planning becomes clearer. Clear plans reduce risk. Reduced risk supports longevity. There is clarity that the future will test maintenance more than ambition. Maintenance protects gains. Leo. This revelation confirms that karma striking was not an event. It was a phase transition. Transitions change rules. The rules now favor steadiness over struggle. From here, success is measured by how little force is required. Let this understanding settle quietly. It will guide you more reliably than motivation ever could. This is the revelation that turns victory into direction, and direction into sustained peace. Leo. What completes this karmic convergence is not celebrating the 5 victories or trying to capitalize on them immediately, but anchoring the posture that keeps balance restored as life continues to move. When karma strikes in your favor, the real work becomes maintenance. Maintenance protects what arrived and prevents old patterns from quietly returning. The spiritual message here is steady and practical. You are not meant to accelerate because momentum appeared. Acceleration introduces pressure. Pressure distorts judgment. You are meant to stabilize, allowing fairness to integrate into daily behavior. Integration is what makes victory durable. The first action is containment. Keep the details of these victories private for a short while. Privacy allows your nervous system to settle. Settled systems make cleaner decisions. Clean decisions preserve gains. The second action is rhythm reinforcement. Maintain regular sleep, meals, and focused work times for the next week. Rhythm signals safety to the body. Safety sustains clarity. Clarity keeps money, time, and relationships aligned. The third action is selective response. When new requests or opportunities appear, pause before saying yes. Victory often attracts demand. Demand can drain if boundaries soften. Pausing preserves leverage. There is also an internal boundary to hold. Do not recheck the past to see if the win is real. Checking reopens vigilance. Trust what has already stabilized. Stability does not require monitoring. Another anchor is gratitude expressed through behavior. Honor commitments. Pay what is due. Finish what you start. Behavioral gratitude locks alignment more securely than emotion alone. You may feel the urge to explain what happened to those who doubted you. Release that urge. Explanation spends energy. Energy is better invested forward. Another grounding practice is simplification. Remove one unnecessary obligation or distraction. Simplification preserves momentum and prevents diffusion. You may notice confidence settling quietly. Quiet confidence is reliable under pressure. Loud confidence fluctuates. Reliability sustains success. There is wisdom in patience with visibility. Let results speak over time. Time reinforces credibility without effort. Another anchor is ethical steadiness. Choose proportion over excess. Choose fairness over advantage. Fairness sustains karmic balance. You may also feel drawn to organize your environment. Organization mirrors internal order. Internal order supports sustained progress. A spiritual action you can take now is brief and precise. For the next 5 days, begin each morning by acknowledging internally that balance has returned and that you choose steadiness over reaction. This is not a demand for more. It is consent to maintain what arrived. You may feel relief as urgency fades. Relief confirms alignment. Let it guide your pace. If doubt arises, return to observation. Observe how life responds when you move calmly. Consistent cooperation confirms stability. Another anchor is humility with authority. Humility keeps you teachable. Authority keeps you decisive. Together they protect gains. You may notice relationships recalibrating. Some grow easier. Some create distance. Both outcomes preserve balance. Leo. These 5 victories did not arrive to elevate you above others. They arrived to restore proportion within you. Proportion aligns effort with return. From here, your role is not pursuit. It is stewardship. Stewardship keeps cycles clean. Maintain clarity. Maintain boundaries. Maintain rhythm. Let karma finish its work by living normally and choosing well. This is how victory becomes a foundation rather than a peak, and how peace replaces vigilance without cost. Trust the structure that has formed. It will carry you forward with less effort than you ever expected.